As we go to the Chitas of today, we hold the Parshas Tazria. Sunday morning, we read the first portion. Vayidab Hashem al Moshe Leimer, and God spoke to Moshe saying, Dabel b'nei Yisrael, speak to the Jewish people, Leimer saying, Isha ki Tazria, a woman will conceive, v'yolda zachar, and she will have a boy. V'tama shivas yamim, and she'll become unclean for 7 days. Kemei nidas daisa titma, in the days of a menstrual slow, that's of nida. Nida is a woman who has a menstrual flow. She becomes tame. Titma, she becomes unclean. Now she says, Itzika is the Omer of Simloi. Kishem she yitzadashet adam achakol behema chayiv. Just like in the creation, in the 6 days creation, man was created after all animals that were created on the fifth. Animals were created earlier on the 6th day before man. So too, the law of man, the laws of purity and impurity. Last week, we learned the laws of what's a kosher animal and what's a non-kosher animal. What happens to an animal that becomes impure and impurifies others? These are the very deep laws of impurity, my friends. We're going to go into a parsha that deals with the laws of purity and impurity. That's a chukkah. It's a decree why the Eibishter decided that one animal has the capability of kashrus and the other animal doesn't have the capability of kashrus, being kosher. Why one animal, a live animal, is pure and a dead animal is impure. These are concepts that are above our understanding. They are a chukim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They are a decree from God, and that's the way it is. And so too, when it comes to man and woman, and we're going to learn in this week's parsha, which is mainly the laws of leprosy, spiritual leprosy, which makes a person impure, is the laws that are chukei HaTorah. They are the decrees of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that a woman becomes impure on her cycle is a nida, is a decree from the Eibishter. She becomes impure, has nothing to do with cleanliness, physical cleanliness or uncleanliness. Laws of purity and impurity. So this law, because for example, purity and impurity is really concerning the concept of going into the Beis Hamikdash for a regular Jew, or eating truma and tara, truma for kohen, which is not today. Today we only have the law of a nida, as we're going to read in this week's parsha, the law of a nida, which a woman needs to go to the mikveh to be able to have a relationship with her husband. But if she doesn't, she's not married, she's single, then she also, this law doesn't pertain to her because she doesn't go to the mikveh today. So now she says, this comes to teach us, even if, God forbid, a person has a miscarriage. The words that we have to include a woman, in case a woman who gave birth to the dissolved fetus, the fetus had matured, but had subsequently dissolved in the womb, resulting in a semen-like mass. His mother is impure of birth. In the days of a menstrual flow, according to the order of uncleanness mentioned in regard to menstruating woman, a nida, that's the general word for a woman that goes through a cycle, is called a nida. She becomes unclean on account of giving birth, the same way like a nida becomes unclean from a cycle. This is true even if the womb opens without any blood. That's the law of a nida. Not always blood. Because the Gemara says there's no ptichas hakever b'li dam. There's no opening of the womb without blood. So whether you saw blood or you didn't see blood, we consider it as a nida. Doisa. So there's two laws, very difficult laws in the Torah. The law of a nida and the law of a doisa. A doisa is an expression that denotes substance that flows from her body that if that a doisa can be a man doesn't have a nida, but you'll learn later on a man has the law of a dove and a dove that flows from his body fluids that not the concept of a cycle, which today we don't know. And today, actually, by a woman, we mix the laws of nida and daisa together because we're not sure the blood types and the different kinds of things that come out of a woman's womb. And since we're not very clear in these laws, we mix both of these laws together. We take the chumras, the strictness of nida and daisa. And as I said, there's very hard laws. You can mesechta nida, and you can learn that mesechta and understand all these laws. The expression nates a substance that flows from her body. Another explanation, it denotes midave. It's a sickness. So it's not a menstrual cycle, it's not a sickness. But a daisa is a sickness. And there's not a woman who sees menstrual blood without feeling ill. So therefore, we mix the two laws together. And since we don't know the differences between the bloods of a daisa and a nida, between the bloods of a menstrual cycle and bloods of something that's coming out because of a sickness, because ultimately, most women who have a menstrual cycle, they get sick. They have a fever and they have issues. So as Rashi said, her limbs and her body become heavy. So she has headaches and etc. So it's something's happening in her menstrual cycle that is mixed in there, the concept of a dava. So if she has a child, she becomes impure for 7 days, even though she's not in her cycle. She actually stopped her cycle when she got pregnant. So she stopped her cycle, and now she has a child. So she becomes impure for 7 days. And that's why that's one of the reasons why the bris is on the 8th day, that should be a yom simcha, to be a day of joy. Because she becomes pure from the nida. But that's concerning her relationship with her husband. Shloshim, and today it doesn't work because most women that have children, they bleed for more than 7 days after having birth. They might bleed for a month or 2. So they're not going to be pure. They won't be able to go to the mikvah and start counting days of cleanliness until she stops bleeding. But in the early days, women would be extremely stronger people, and they would stop bleeding that day, if you can imagine. And they would count 7 days, and the 8th day they would go to the. She would be tar. She would be pure. But now the Torah continues the law of a nida of a childbirth, not of a nida of a childbirth. For 33 days, she remains in the blood of purity. What's her law of this woman? So now we have 33, it's 40 days. Over here we're talking about if she was a kehenes, or she's a regular Jewish woman, she's not allowed to touch anything that is holy food. And she can't come to the Beis Hamikdash for the 40 days. Ad Melesi Meitara, until she completes the days of purification. Nashas Teshav, she shall remain. Ain't Teshav Lashakava. This means remaining like in dwelling Teshav that she has to hold herself back. The Dmei Tahara, during the interim period, although she may see blood issued from her, she is ritually clean. The question is, how is that possible? But because these are days of cleanliness, 40 days. The Dmei Tahara, this could have been mistakenly understood as the blood of her period. However, this is not inspired the hay, as it is evidence the absence of the dot of the final letter. Therefore, it's an unqualified 9, like the word tahir, meaning purity. You can take the hay away. Leisiga, she should not touch anything holy, although the verse says she shall not touch. This means a warning against one eating anything holy, as is taught in the tractate of Yevamos. So she's not allowed to eat if she's married to a kohen. B'chol kodesh, this comes to include truma. being prohibited to this woman before she's ritually clean. This woman is considered a Tul Yom, someone who has immersed in a mikveh, because she went to the mikveh after 7 days. So she's allowed to live with her husband because she's pure, but she's not pure to go to the Beis Hamikdash. But she still must wait that day to lapse in order to become completely clean. Now, how is she considered Tfil? We are talking about 33-day period. We're not talking about one night. She went to the mikveh in the morning and she has to wait till night. However, she does fall under this category because she's Tfil Yom Aruch. She must wait a prolonged day, 33 days. She immerses after 7 days. But the sunset that it must wait for in order to become pure is a sunset, a day of immersion, but rather the sunset of the 40th day from birth. So she has a long, long day. So to say, we consider a long day, 33 days, after going to the mikveh on the 7th night. Since not only following the day, she may bring the atonement sacrifice for her purification, thus the whole period is considered one prolonged day in the context of the law regarding eating anything holy. So this woman who has a child, she's married to a kohen, she goes to the mikvah on the 7th day, if that's possible. On the 8th day, the bris, it's a happy celebration for the child and for the parents. And now she needs to wait another 33 days until the 40th day. At nighttime, the 40th day and at night, she now can eat truma. She has to bring a sacrifice to the Beis Hamikdash after childbirth, and the Torah tells us. And she's allowed to go to the Beis Hamikdash. She becomes pure. In the Caleb Salem, that she has a girl. She becomes a girl. She becomes unclean for 2 weeks, and then she has to wait 60 shishim yom v'sheishes yomim. She has to wait 66 days. For 60 days. 60 days. She remains, and then she waits 60 days. She has ultimately 60 days of remaining to come to Beis Hamikdash. For a boy, it's 40 days. For the girl, it's 60 days. But at the end of her purity, days of purity, whether it's 60 days or it's 40 days. Leben Bas, for a boy or a girl. Tavi Kezes when Shnase Leila. She has to bring a carbon, a sacrifice. She has to bring a burnt offering and a dove for a Torah dove for a sin offering. Pesach Hayomed to the entrance of the tent of meeting. She shall offer this offering to God. God will forgive her, but and she will become pure. Meha, from the source of her blood. Zeis Teras Hayeledes. This is the law of a woman who gives birth, whether to a male or zachar in the cave. One of the reasons she had to bring a sin offering, the Gemara says, is because she in her labor, the woman might say things that I will never do this again. I hate everybody. And since in her pain, she says things that she self-understood, said it out of pain and not out of meaning it truthfully. Therefore, she brings a korban chatas. And God forgives her self-understood for saying what she said, because this is before epidural. So that she shouldn't, that for the things she might have said. This singular object comes to teach us that only one of the sacrifices is yet to be brought, holds her back from eating anything holy. We're talking again about a kohenes, and which is a woman is married to a kohen, and which is one of this, it's sin offering. It says it's sin offering. So the most important offering over here is a sin offering. And the kohen shall effect atonement for her, and thus she shall be purified. So the sin offering is the most important offering of her offering. To be able to bring her, to be able to come into the Beis Hamikdash and eat truma and holy objects. The one through which her atonement is effective, namely the sin offering, is the one on which her purification is dependent. B'tahira, and she will become pure. That is until naming or offering up her sacrifice, she's called unclean, and may not eat self-sacrificial flesh to enter the sanctuary. Verse 8. If she cannot afford a sheep, and then she takes 2 turtle doves, or 2 young doves, one for a burnt offering, and one for a sin offering, and the kohen will forgive her, bring her forgiveness, and she will be tar, whether it's on the 41st day right now or the 61st day. Scripture places the burnt offering before the sin offering, only insofar as how they must be read in the Torah. This do the higher esteemed burnt offering because it's burnt entirely, but sacrificing of the sin offering precedes the burnt offering. So ultimately, the Torah says the oila before the chatas. Actually, in reality, the oila was brought after the carbon chatas. And we learn in the Gemara Zvachim, chapter Leisagin, and you can learn the Gemara, how the Gemara learns how, even though the pasuk says it one way, in actuality, we know it was brought the other way. Holding chapter 13, verse number 1. Go now into the laws of leprosy. And as I said, this is spiritual leprosy. The laws of Tzairas. And I'll give you a little picture here. These are very hard laws, as you're going to learn. So you have this 2 kinds of tzadas. The tzadas of a healthy skin, and the tzadas that's in a healing skin. There are many shades, as you're going to read in the Parshas, many different tzadas, and you really need to be an expert in this. And the interesting thing of this whole Parsha is that even though you need to be an expert in tzadas, but the one who makes it impure is the kohen. This is also a chukah. And also this tzadas is not talking about regular leprosy. This is a specific kind of leprosy that was connected to a spiritual thing. And that's why we don't have this leprosy today. We have leprosy in the world, but not this leprosy. This is a specific kind of a situation which was connected to a spiritual element. And therefore it has nothing to do with the physical going to a doctor. This, you brought it to the kohen. Now the kohen, if he didn't know the laws of leprosy, he needed to bring a rabbi with him. But he had the power to make it pure or impure. Eibishter gave him the unbridled power to establish. And therefore, certain laws, for example, if a chassan came to him and he was getting married, he would tell him to come back in 7 days. Even though the rabbi with him said it's a leprosy, but the kohen had the capability to say, fine, I don't want to make it tummy. I have that power. Eibishter gave him that power to make it tummy or not. So if the kohen understood the guy's getting married, so he didn't want to destroy his wedding. So he would say, go, come back in a week. We'll see what happens in a week. And the guy got married, and maybe in a week it was not there anymore. So even though he was, that's a chuk. Again, it's a decree, it's a gzeres hakosef, so it's a decree for the Torah. That's the way it is. So this is a Torah law. Just want to establish that. Verse number 1. God spoke to Moses and Aaron saying, verse number 2. If a man has a se'es or a sapachas, we'll soon see what Rashi and says what that means. Or beheres, and the forms of lesions of tzadas on the skin of his flesh. He brings it to Aaron. He doesn't go to the doctor. He brings it to Aaron, the kohen, to one of his sons. Rashi says, this term of se'es and beheres is names of 2 major legions And the terms of sapachas refers to categories related to two major legions, and one is a major legion named Beheres, is whiter than the other says. Since the ace sapachas are two shades of white. Beheres is spots, old French, just similar to the verse, and a boher, like the skies, like the spots created by the bright clouds in blue skies. So the white reflecting on the blue. El Aren, you bring it to Aren. This is that's what's called, you'll see this in the Gemara many times, Gzeiras HaKosiv. This is a scriptural decree. This has nothing to do with logic. You can find spiritual logics in it. This has nothing to do with the Gzeiras HaKosiv. That this exists, that the uncleanliness reasons and cleanliness do not come about except through the pronouncement of the Kohen. For whatever reason, the Eibishter wanted to put this law in the hands of a Kohen. And he had the power, as I said. That's a Gzeiras HaKosiv, even though, again, the Kohen might be ignorant in this law. And he doesn't know the law. Because these are very difficult laws of tzeras, this tzeras, to be able to ascertain what is a tzeras in the Torah. Again, it doesn't mean leprosy that people chashom have in the world. This is a specific kind of a leprosy. And the kohen will look at this lesion in the skin of the flesh. And the hair, we're looking at the hair of the lesion. Again, the Eibush is the ultimate doctor, but this is a law that you have to establish. You have to understand that this is a spiritual law. We're looking at the hair of the lesion, turn to white, and the appearance of the lesion is deeper than the skin of the flesh. Nega tzarasi, that's a general nega. That you have a lesion deeper, it's deeper than the skin, and it has white hair. At least two white hairs. The kohen will see this, and he'll say, my friend, you are impure. That's tumah. It has nothing to do with you're sick, you better go to a doctor. Dermatologist doesn't tell him that. He says you're impure. So Rashi says the hair in the lesion has turned white. The hair was black, and then it turned white in the lesion. I'm going to talk about a guy who has white hair, because that's not going to prove anything. Talk about a guy who has black hair, or red hair, whatever, brown hair, whatever. And so this is not a guy. This is a person, whether it's a man or a woman. So, and in that lesion, everywhere else in his hand is black hair. And in that lesion, he has two white hairs. The minimum quantity referred to the term seir is two, as opposed to seira here. Thus, there shall minimum two hairs that turn white in the lesion for this law to apply. So in essence, according to Torah, you can have a white patch, but you have only black hair. It's not a tzeras. You need a minimum of two hairs. So if you have one hair, it's not a tzeras. It needs to have two hairs. At least two hairs, can be more. Tzeras said anything with a white appearance seems deeper in contrast to a dark object next to it. Just as sunlight appears deeper than a shadow. So it needs to look like deep. It can't look like sticking out. It needs to look like it's deep into the skin. But he has to say you're unclean. The white hair is a sign of uncleanness. Again, you have that word. That's a scriptural law. The Torah, in essence, says the worst thing in this thing is not the color of the skin, it's the hair. If you have two hairs that are turned white because of this, that is the biggest sign of this kind of a tzaras, this kind of a leprosy. The changing of the color of the hair. And again, if the guy's totally white, then he wouldn't prove anything. It means that he has black hair. I'm looking at myself. I have white hair in my beard, but my hand is black hair. And he has a God forbid, he has tzaras, and there's two white hairs. And again, that's exeris hakosav. We're not looking for any logical explanation to this concept. Verse number 4. If it is a white beneath the skin of his flesh, and its appearance is not deeper than the skin, and the hair has not turned white, and the kohen will say, you know what, I don't know. Let's come back. We're going to lock you up for 7 days. Close yourself up, quarantine yourself, go into quarantine for 7 days, and come back after 7 days. We'll see what happens. So Rashi says, very interesting Rashi. But beneath the white breath, its appearance is not deeper. Rashi says, I do not know what this means. Because as I said, anything white on a colored thing looks deeper. How is it possibly white, not deeper? I don't understand what the pasuk means. I don't understand what this means. I don't understand the simple meaning of the verse. Rashi didn't understand it. I surely don't. So since a white beheres should always appear deeper than the skin, as above, yet here the verse describes a case where it does not. Rashi says, I don't know. How is this possible? Vehisker, he shall have him confined in one house, and the person shall not be seen by the kohen until the end of the week. Only then will his signs indicate about him. So this is where you find the first time quarantine in the Torah, that the Torah tells the Mitzvah, a questionable leper, spiritual leprosy, to lock himself up for 7 days. If the kohen will see him on the 7th day, and behold, the lesion has remained the same in its appearance. The lesion has not spread on the skin. So now you know where all the 14-day of closing up comes from. This all in the Torah. So now you have 2 times 7, 14 days. The Torah tells the kohen will say, go away for another 7 days. Another 7 days quarantine, 14 days of quarantine we have it over here. Be'einav, in his original appearance and size, he doesn't see that the lesion has gotten bigger or it's gotten smaller. He locks him up a second time. But if the lesion spread in the first week, if it got bigger, that's the worst. If it got bigger, he's definitely unclean, as we'll continue to learn. It didn't get bigger, it didn't get smaller. So it stayed at the same situation. And the kohen will lock him up for another 7 days. Okay, the Torah will continue, I promise you. And the laws of the gas, so you have no worries. Come tomorrow morning, we'll continue the Chumash of the day. But right now, we're going to go to the Tanya of the day as we finished the Chumash for today. Today, we continued chapter, I think, 38. Yes, we're still in the middle of chapter 38 of Tanya. The Alter Rebbe continues to try to impress on us the concept of Tzimtzum, because this was a great struggle in his times, in the struggle of what Tzimtzum means. What does a contraction mean? And there was a concept of a contraction, meaning the Eibush, the Chas Shalom, separate himself from the world. The Alter Rebbe always said Tzimtzum shaloikim shutai. I mean, Tzimtzum is not in its simple meaning. Tzimtzum means contraction. It was not meaning that God went away from the world. It's the meaning of revelation of godliness. Certain things have the capability, have the vessel of revelation, and certain don't. So the Alter Rebbe continues, this concept. He's trying to drill it into our minds. Guf Gashmi, in a physical body of a living creature, in an absolute animate being, such as Kavan offer, like, for example, stones, earth, in which no life of spirituality are apparent, right? Even though we're both created, a stone and a human being are both creation, but a stone is a stone. A stone, you cannot see any spiritual reality. In a human being, you see that he's living. So you see a person's living, you see something's going on. There's some kind of energy. There's energy in the stone, like in the human being. The stone is also there, it's existing. So there's some kind of energy that makes it existing. But you can't compare the existence of the spiritual energy within a stone and a human being. So the ray of divine creative power is in a state of unparalleled contraction. So we know that in Kabbalah you have 4 levels: Doimim, which is earth, inanimate objects; Tzemeach, vegetation, you see growth, you see more life; Chai, you see in an animal, you see actually breathing, and it moves, and it has expressions, etc. Even barks or makes noises. And then you have a Medaber, you have a human being, where he has free choice and development and creativity, etc. So we have the revelation of godliness, the powers of godliness in these 4 levels, even though ultimately they're all from God. So what's the difference really? In the MS, in the truth of everything, they're all created by God. They're all the same. They're all the same. There's no difference. But the difference is in the revelation. Not that there's no God in the stone and there's a God in the human being. No, there's God in the stone, like there is in the human being. But one is more revealed, one is further from revelation. So that's what the Chayes of in the stone, the life force is so unrevealed that it's pashut, that it's seemingly inanimate. That's why it's called inanimate. You don't see growth in the stone. Stays hard as it is for whatever, forever. Something comes in contact with it. And then you go to vegetation. You don't see such a great contraction. You see growth. You see development. You see the opposite. It dies and it regrows again. You see some aspect of growth in a tzemeach. And as I said, the world is divided into 4 categories: doimein, tzemeach, chai, medaber. Minerals, vegetable, animal, and man. We call man medaber. Medaber is one who speaks. It's one of the wonders of creation. Speech, communication. Which corresponds to the 4 letters of the divine name. That everything comes out of the divine name. Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. So Yud is the highest, is Adam. Hey is Chai. Vav is Tzemeach, and Hey, the last Hey, is Daimon. The inanimate objects. So all of it come out from the name of God. Everything comes out from God, ultimately. They all come out from the same name of God. But there's no difference. You can't compare. But ultimately, every person can come to that same conclusion, that there's no comparison to life force that comes into a rock or even a vegetable to a life force that comes into an animal or ultimately into a human being. So therefore, nobody's a problem eating vegetables. Some people have a problem eating animals. Oh, they're like, why are you eating animals? You're killing something. Wait, you're killing the potato. You're killing the tomato. But We don't seemingly so bother killing the tomato like we say killing the animal. Come to a conclusion, there's a big difference pulling off a tomato from its root and killing its source from its source than killing an animal from its source. So everybody can come to that realization because there's a greater force of energy and life in the animal than the Iraq or the tomato. But the truth is, they're all godly. They all have a life force. They're all created, and they all have an energy. So when I pull off that tomato from the tree, I'm cutting it off from its life force. So that's the emes. Shava b'china test upon him. So although all four categories, the divine animating life in the same in term of concealment of his countenance, in all four categories, the inner aspect of the divine light is concealed, quality. And in all four categories, the light is clothed in the same garment, namely a garment. Every one of these have a garment, whether it's a human being, whether it's a rock, it's a vessel to the light. So the veil of Noiga, hence, in none of these categories is apparent their vitality is actually godliness, right? In all these four categories, they're all hidden. They're all hidden. God is hidden in all these categories, and the human being also is hidden. Yet despite this quality, the vitality of the animated beings and plants is incompatible to that of animal man. We can come to that conclusion logically. So even though it's all hidden, but some places it's more hidden, and some places it's less hidden. So therefore, man is the most important entity in the world. Then comes animal, then comes vegetation, and then comes inanimate objects. Even though all of them are a revelation of God, all of them are created by God, all of them need to be respected. And therefore, you need to respect animals, and you need to respect, you're not allowed about tashchis, you're not allowed to destroy vegetation, and you need to take care of the world. Because all of them, you have to take care of it because they all have the energy of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And by diminishing them, you're diminishing the energy that God has given to them. But ultimately, man is the highest on this revelation of godliness in the world. And a stone, and an inanimate object is on the lowest. That's why we step physically on the earth. That's why the Frierdiker Rebbe says that the earth screams out to the person that's stepping on it and say, "Who gave you permission to step on me?" The only reason why you step on me is because God gave you permission to step on me. But really, what is the difference between me and you? Your physical body is from earth. There's no difference between you and me. We say this in our davening every day. The difference between even the two categories of man and animal, the greatness of man over animals, ayin, is really not a truth. We're both physical entities. We're both vessels. Levad neshama Torah, besides the godly soul. But the truth is, the Chassidus says that my body fits my godly soul. There's no godly soul in a cat or in a dog, because their body, they have a soul, but not a godly soul, not for kids, because that would be a great pain for my godly soul to be in an animal. It's actually one of the punishments of the soul is that it's put into an animal, or even put into an inanimate, into vegetation. That's great. That's a punishment to the soul, because the soul fits the vessel. So my neshama, especially my godly neshama, fits my body, and belongs in my body because that's where it develops itself. If it would go into any other the four different the other three levels, it would be a great punishment to my soul because it doesn't fit into that category. So the soul fits the glove fits the head, the soul fits the vessel. But the revelation of the soul in the body is greater than the revelation of the soul of a dog in the dog, or the revelation of the soul of the tomato in the tomato, or ultimately the revelation of the soul of the rock in the rock. So not that there's no soul, it's the quality of revelation. That's what the Alter Rebbe keeps on wanting to tell us. So there's no comparison or the likeness between the illumination and flow of the blessed Ein Sof light, meaning the inner aspect of his will, without the concealment of the contents and with no garments whatsoever. As it radiates. So now we're going back to what he said to begin with. A person who does a mitzvah without kavanah is keguf beloy neshama. A person that does a mitzvah without intent is like a body without a soul. So the Alter Rebbe gave a whole analogy to the difference of revelation. There's no comparison to doing a mitzvah, even though you did the mitzvah and you did it without kavanah. So there's missing the vitality, the revelation of the vitality of the mitzvah. Then when I do it with kavanah, now we have a revelation of vitality in this mitzvah. So too, there's no comparison davening without kavanah than davening with kavanah. There's no comparison, even though you daven. And once you daven, you're not allowed to daven again. Trust the blessings. You can daven again, according to Allah, if you say it for an adava, you say it for a gift offering. But to daven, the mitzvah of davening, you did it once and that's it, to make them especially blessings. You cannot say it again. You shouldn't say it again. Why? Because you did the mitzvah. But when I have kavanah, that's like a soul. That's like the neshama to the mitzvah. That's the energy. That's the revelation of energy. So when I do it with intent, I revealed its energy. When I didn't do it with intent, it has an energy because everything is by God. So ultimately, it brings about an energy in this physical object. But if I do it with kavanah, wow, anybody can see. So, and we see that in reality. I don't have to convince you this, that if I daven, if I sit and I think when I'm davening, that I just daven, is a whole different prayer. It's a whole different vitality. It's a whole different life. Even though, right, I said the mitzvah, I said the bracha, I did everything without kavanah, it's a mitzvah, right? Mitzvahs leitzich kavanah. Mitzvahs do not need to have intent officially. But there's no comparison, my dear friend. In the illumination of Ein Sof found in these mitzvahs, very low likeness in comparison with the superior illumination and flow of blessed light of God and radiant clothed in a kavanah of a mitzvah of action. The truth is, you should realize that we, with our kavanah, have the capability to reveal God in a physical way. We have that capability. If we did things with kavanah, we would be able to reveal, and people would see. I would see myself, and others would see. Wow! Look at this mitzvah that I'm doing. I'm not just doing a mitzvah. I'm bringing life to a mitzvah. I'm bringing vitality to this mitzvah. That is a transforming concept. So thus doing it is true, is also transforming. But doing it with kavanah, I bring an neshama to this reality. I bring the soul to this reality. Sha'adam is kavan basir. When a person intention, the truth is, the Alter Rebbe writes, there's many kavanas in every mitzvah. There's many spiritual kavanas and intentions in every mitzvah you do. And you might think, how do I know all the kavanas? How, I need the kavanas of the Arizal. There's a lot of holy stuff. So I'm incapable of knowing this holy stuff. So how you expect to have kavanah? The Alter Rebbe says it's very simple kavanah. Very simple. And that is Your kavanah should be one thing. I'm doing the mitzvah for God. This is what God wants, and I am going to do it for the Eibishter, for God Himself. I want to do one thing. I want to fulfill God's will. That's the best kavanah you can have. That's the best. You want to meditate? Meditate on doing things for HaKadosh Baruch. Focus on God. It's the same thing. I want to do something for somebody else. Focus on the other person. Don't just do it. Do it with focus. Do it with love. Do it with intent. Not just, okay, here, somebody asked me something. Okay, here, you got it. What should I do? I'll do it. I just want to keep it going, the relationship. Here, I'll do it for you. Leave me alone. When can I get over doing it for you? No. Yeah, you did it. Can't complain. The thing is done. But imagine if you did it with intent. The greatest kavanah, I did it intent. I want to fulfill God's will. There's nothing greater than that. There's nothing more powerful than that. Because that's really the kavanah. All the spiritual reasons are all for one thing, that it's God. So if I have the capacity to know spirituality and all the reasons, okay, gesundheit, you should do that. If you don't understand, if anybody over here understands the reasons that Arizal explains, it's better. But I don't need that. I need to just know one thing. I need to know one thing. I want to cleave to God. That's what the Alter Rebbe would always say before in davening. He would say, "I don't want your Gan Eden. I don't want your Ilam Haba. I want you." That's it. That's the whole thing. Simple. I want to have a relationship with God. I want to fulfill God's wishes. I want to fulfill God's wishes in the most simple, clear, simple way, what the Eibishter wanted. That's all I want. That's all I need. I don't need more. Actually, the simpler the better. Tamim tiyeh Hashem Elokecha. You should be simple with God. He wants it simple. Don't try to make everything so complicated. Want to have a relationship with Him. Which was the Ratzon of the Eibishter. And God is one. So to kavanah when you pray. Who I'm praying? I'm praying to God. Shema Yisrael, the Shema Yisrael. I love the Eibishter. I love God. Simple as that. The Shara brachas and all blessings we make. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu. It's a simple thing. Blessed are you, God, the King of the world. That's it. That's all I want to do is thank God and bless God and connect with God. Shebekavoda is behem. When I have intention, I don't say the bracha. I just don't say the words of prayer. I just don't say the learning. I try to learn because it's a mitzvah. There's no greater mitzvah than learning. And there's no greater connection to God than learning. Everything that the Eibishter gave me in through Torah and mitzvahs is all about my connection to God. I need to focus on that. That you have accomplished something. You have transformed the world in a way that is not, it's impossible to transform without that. Because therefore, you can do mitzvahs, and that's wonderful. But when you have kavanah, you're transformed, you brought a soul into the world. Not only you made the vessel, the mitzvah, you made the vessel, you brought an neshama, you brought a soul into, you brought an energy, you revealed an energy in the world which cannot be revealed without you, without me. The God of a David, Mashafte, V'silti, is part of them, where he attaches his thought and his intellect to God. And that completes the Tanya of today. Beautiful Tanya today, the 24th day of the month of Adar Sheni. And the chapters of Tanya are 113 to 118. It's actually the Hallel in the Tillim, in the Psalms, the Hallel from chapter 113 to chapter 118, and you would do the chitas of the day. I want to wish you all a wonderful day, beautiful Sunday, a beautiful week. I invite you all today at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. We'll continue to do the gate of trust. 10 a.m. either at Chabad or on Zoom or at this place on Torah Direct. I wish you all a wonderful week, a happy week. I hope surely I'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. We'll continue the Tanya of the day. Have a chitas of the day. Have a wonderful day.